In the most recent years, games have tapped into many different genres, from adventures to puzzle games to RPGs, but there has only ever been a few handful of games that decided to take a step back from all the action and fast-paced adventuring to a more slow-paced style. These types of games were not as abundant from the action-packed kinds until a few were able to pioneer the genre of cozy, relaxing games that we now know and love today. These games allow you to sit back, turn your brain off for a little while, and enjoy a peaceful gaming experience. And I've got 7 of the best and most chilled games in this particular genre. What's up guys, Tactics here with another video for you. Grab yourself a drink and some snacks, sit back, and let's dive right in. Starting off with number 7, we got Fields of Mystria. I decided to put this game at number 7 because I believe it's still in early access. However, from what I've seen and tried out for a little while, it seems to be pretty interesting. I couldn't put this game any higher though, for the fact that it is still in early access, and also because I've only played it for just a few hours to be able to make this video. But as you can see, it is a farming game with a little bit of RPG elements sprinkled in to mix things up a bit. And you will see this being a theme throughout this video, so I hope you'll bear with me on that. But as for the game itself, it's not that bad actually. As I said, it is a farming game with some action RPG elements, but it also has the same feel to it as another game on this list that we'll get to very soon. The characters seem colorful enough, but I don't think the dialogue compares to something like Ruin Factory or even Story of Seasons. There is romance in the game as well, meaning that there are certain characters that are, well, romanceable, indicated by the heart that you can see next to their text box. As for the RPG aspect of it though, there are minor encounters of monsters you can swing a sword at down in the mines when you're out collecting materials to upgrade your character with new armor, weapons, and accessories. Another interesting bit is the fact that you have a dedicated jump button, unlike most farming sims. Overall, I think it's a really fun, nice little cozy game that you can get into very easily. As for me, it's a nice replacement until something like Ruin Factory Guardians of Ozma comes out later this year. But what do you guys think about Fields of Mystria? Moving on to number 6, we have Story of Seasons. Like many people, Story of Seasons, or Harvest Moon, which was what it was called at the time, was one of the games that many were introduced to in terms of the cozy game genre. From the slow farming life, socializing with the locals, taking care of animals, and finding yourself a lifelong partner to share all your hard-earned achievements with. You know, the standard for normal human interactions, except in digital form. However, unlike reality, there is always this sort of hint of fantasy that makes the experience unique for many people. Personally, I could never really get into the series, mainly because I always felt as though there was something sorely lacking from this particular series that I couldn't quite put my finger on for the longest time back in the day. And before long, I found myself no longer interested in the genre for quite some time. For others, I'm sure this game was right up their alley from the beginning though. Being able to just turn on the game and live out your life in a quiet, peaceful village really made it fun for a lot of people when they just wanted to escape all the struggles of dealing with real world problems, even if it was just for a few hours. So I understand the appeal. But like I said, there was something that I thought the Story of Season games were just sort of missing that I couldn't quite get into, or for it to hold my attention long enough, and it was until later that another game made me realize just what that missing component was. Alright, now at number 5 we have Stardew Valley. Out of all the games on this list, I think Stardew Valley is the one I spent the least amount of time on. This game is basically a completed version of what Fields of Mystria is, or better yet, I should say Stardew Valley is the game that Fields of Mystria aspires to be, since the feel of these two games are basically one and the same, yet differs in their own way, I guess. Once again, you have farming and living out your days in a peaceful town, working down in the mines. I mean, what else is there really to say that I already haven't said about the other two games previously? Like, I feel kind of bad because I know there are some people who put tons of hours into this game and truly love it, and probably has a lot more to say about it than I do. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, yeah, like, I mean, what else is there to say than it's another farming game? But in all seriousness though, there is much to appreciate about Stardew Valley, and that is exactly why we have so many farming and other cozy games similar to it and Fields of Mystria that continue to shape the genre. Next we have Harvestella at number 4 on my list. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting to the good stuff, in my humble opinion, because, well, it is my list of course. But honestly though, I never would have thought that Square Enix would dip their toes into the farming sim genre, since they are more known for their action-adventure type of games, and you'll see a lot of that drip into this game as well. Because when you peel back the layers of this, you'll notice that the farming and the socializing with locals take a bit of a backseat and focuses more on the narrative first. The story is quite deep and complex, more than you would have given it credit for in the beginning. The main character wakes up in a strange land during a strange moment where these dust particles are sprinkled across the world by these huge crystal-like structures known as the Seas Light. During this moment, all crops die, and anyone exposed to these particles grow weak from the exposure, and for some unexplained reason, they eventually die. This phenomenon is known as the quietus. A strange blonde girl saves you, and then the doctor lady from the village saves you again the very next day, diagnosing you with amnesia, just like with any main character from Ruin Factory or farming sim game, I guess, for some particular reason. Another character called Arya falls from the sky and begins living with you in your new house on the outskirts of the main town. Sounds like your typical isekai anime if you ask me. But the mystery of the Seas Light and the robotic people, known as omens, slowly begin to unravel as you progress through the story. Obviously, I don't intend to spoil the story because I think it's best experienced by players who haven't actually played the game yet, but it really threw me for quite the loop. Of course, having a great story is always a welcome addition to these types of games, but what really got me on board was of course the RPG gameplay that they added to it. And once again, going forward, you'll notice this being a pattern why these cozy games are highly regarded by me. The characters are colorful, of course, and lovable, and that's all I need to get me invested into knowing more about their background. Once again, the combat is done well, since the more allies you meet, the more jobs or classes you unlock, which allow you to use things like magic, or you can buff your allies in battle, or you can be the DPS character. The choice is really yours to determine what sort of playstyle that you want to have in the game. You're able to strengthen your bond with your allies and increase your base stats as a result. As for a few shortcomings that the game has, actually happens to be associated with the characters themselves. Although the dialogue with them is good and each ally has about 10 character events that helps strengthen your bond with them, sometimes I simply found myself wanting more out of the events. But for some reason they would just end for some abrupt reason and be put off until another day. And there is romance and marriage in the game, but it's locked behind the post-game for some reason, which I thought was a huge missed opportunity. Another quick nitpick is the farming itself. It is simple and easy to understand, but maybe a bit too simple. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. I guess I'm just used to Ruin Factory and having all the different levels and crops and stats and stuff. Either way, I highly recommend this game for anyone who is looking for a nice little cozy game with a great story and some action to boot. And I really do hope Square Enix decides to make a sequel to this in the future, since I believe for some reason maybe Harvestella was maybe slept on a little bit, even by me for a while. And if you guys are enjoying the video, consider dropping a like for your boy and maybe even subscribing to keep up with my latest uploads. I promise you Emo will sing you a nice happy song for all of your support for the channel. Thanks again guys. Alright, now back to the video with my top 3. At number 3 we have the Dragon Quest Builder series. Usually when you think about cozy games, you can imagine yourself sinking hundreds of hours into it. And for me, this happens to be the best example of it. Adopting the whole Minecraft formula, Dragon Quest Builders adds its own unique twists by having a pretty decent story, where in one, you're rebuilding a land, a kingdom perhaps, and in 2, you have your own island to rebuild and make it your own. But later, at the end of the game, you realize that the world that you have been rebuilding is actually a fake. Regardless, the building mechanics in the game are fun and easy to understand. Traveling to new lands and recruiting people to come take up residence on your newly acquired island and building up a kingdom is just fantastic. This is one of those games that lets you flex your creativity and even share them online for others to see. I sunk so many hours into this game that it's not even funny. It's pretty ridiculous actually. I really enjoyed the progression of the game, such as the more places you travel to in the main story, the more knowledge you gain as a builder to be able to make new structures and acquire new blocks to use to add to your own island. This allows for an amazing gameplay loop where you build up your island for a while, but once you either get bored of that or you want to venture out and discover new materials and recipes to build, then you can continue the main story. I simply adore this system of starting with nothing, but as you slowly progress through the game, you discover new ways to make your character better and stronger and even improve on your base as well. This cycle makes for an incredible progression system that I don't think can ever really get old or stale. It's just something about adding a bit of adventuring, slaying monsters, and growing stronger and smarter to improve your odds of survival. Just this incredible experience. I love it, man. I love it. It's just really good. Like, guys, I really do hope that we get a Dragon Quest Builders 3 for Switch 2. I would absolutely lose my marbles. After all, I do think there are some issues that needed to be expanded on, like with enemy raids. Like, what's the use of me building up my home or base and not having to defend it from, I don't know, the creatures of the night that want to come and take it for themselves or basically want to gnaw on my face. But once you beat the game, you no longer have to worry about enemies raiding your island to attack you. Like, I don't know, I just wanted more of that. But anyways, I digress. Alright, let's move on to number 2. At the number 2 spot, we have good old Power World. That's right, baby. Many love it and many hate on it. But regardless of the controversy behind the game, I can't deny that this game was everything I wanted out of Dragon Quest Builders and more. Starting out with nothing, building a base, and turning that into your home, capturing creatures, and sometimes other inhabitants to do your bidding is everything I love about survival games. Having a level system that allows you to unlock new technology increases your odds of survival is exactly the kind of progression that I simply can't get enough of. This game has been out for over a year now, and I've put tons of hours into it. I don't think I've ever even completed the game or just kind of beaten the most recent tower that's from the most recent update, mainly because, well, I enjoy starting over and just grinding back up to a suitable level and having a new cool base in a new cool location. The POW designs are great, although some do look like they took a bit too much inspiration from Pokemon, but whatever. The game is so addictive that I just can't help but be like, yeah, it looks like Eevee, definitely with a little extra fluff to him, but he's just the cutest thing. But yeah, anyways, the new Faebreak update just makes the game even more addictive with the new permadeath option. Like, people can now have a series of just seeing how long they can last in this cruel world where you might just so happen to glance at the POW the wrong way, and the next thing you know, it's nibbling on your soft, gooey insides. I always find myself going back and playing this game when I have the time. It makes it kinda hard to get any work done sometimes, but like I said, love it or hate it, this game is most likely here to stay, and I hope it does. After all, maybe this will force Nintendo and Game Freak to get off their fat lazy asses and actually try to improve on Pokemon and the formula of it, instead of going after the opposition with something as diabolical as patent laws. And I understand that it's a little different in Japan than it is here in the West when it comes to that sort of stuff, but regardless, it's still a really terrible look for Nintendo and deserves no defending from anyone if you ask me. Even if you are the biggest Pokemon fan in the world, this should be a huge red flag for anybody. Wait, hold on. Hey, hold on, guys. I'm getting a call here. Hold on just a second. Hello? Say what? You say the ninjas are outside my house? Wait, Nintendo? Hold on. You say you're coming from my family? You're gonna download my mind to what? A cartridge? And you're gonna come for my family first? Wait, hold on. Wait, please. You say I gotta do what now? Oh, okay. Okay, I will. All right. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, yes. I love Nintendo, and Nintendo has the best games in the entire world and couldn't possibly do anything wrong, and I'm very sorry for making such heinous accusations towards Nintendo. And it's not true, okay? So Nintendo, sir, please don't come for my family, okay? Okay. So yeah, let's just move on to number 1, shall we? Okay. If you guys know me and have been keeping up with the channel, then you might have already seen this coming, but the number 1 best cozy game has got to go to Ruin Factory. Although I haven't played all of them, unfortunately, I can 100% say with certainty that this series is probably the best in the genre. It just has everything that you would want to some degree. You got farming, creature capturing, socializing with locals, crafting, RPG elements, decent story. I mean, the list goes on. As much as I love Palworld for what it is, I can't play it effectively as I would want to because I'm certain my humble little laptop would just catch fire if I even thought about recording anything on it. So yeah. But that's another reason why Ruin Factory is at the number 1 spot. I've talked about Ruin Factory very extensively on the channel, mostly in regards to the newest entry known as Guardians of Ozma, plus I had my fair share of good times with 5 and 4 being my favorite in the series thus far. Ruin Factory 4 just had that charm to it that 5 was kinda missing a little. Even so, I still love this franchise. It took everything from Harvest Moon aka Story of Seasons and some of my favorite RPGs and adventure games like Zelda and just made itself stand out from its little cousin. Ruin Factory is just a special series that was there during a very pivotal moment in my life, and I couldn't be more happy to talk about it whenever I get the chance. There really are very few franchises that really invoke such emotion in me to want to talk about them so much. In fact, Ruin Factory is the sole reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place, so that I can share some of my favorite games with you guys. And if this inspires others to want to share their experience with a game franchise that they love with me, then I consider that to be the icing on the cake. So thank you guys, and thank you as well for 300 subs. You guys are awesome. We're moving, baby. And I hope to continue to push out more content going forward for you guys. Well, alright, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, be sure to hit that like button for me and subscribe for more content like this if you haven't already. Once again, thank you for all your support. Check out more of my top 7 best games lists like this one here, where I talk more about my top 7 best Fire Emblem games of all time if you haven't already. Either way, I appreciate you guys all the same, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.